D, it talks about $600,000 for interest on the obligations, and it also includes certain other items. So my first question is this in addition to the $2 million, or is this part of the $2 million? I hope I didn't stump you, Chris. No. Does anybody know the answer to that one?
Well, give us a second to take a look at it, Mr. Dragon. It's buried in our packet. You never taught, did you?
Excuse me?
Did you ever teach the concept called wait time? All right,
wait
so
time?
wait time, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
No, I don't. Well, how is the $600,000 derived? You must have some idea of what's going into it.
Normally, when you look at soft costs, they're usually some percentage of the project. So I'm sure that the bonding and the architectural fees, the legal fees, the engineering fees, the construction management fees are all wrapped up into those soft cost numbers for the total project.
Do I understand you correctly, Mayor, that there's a percentage of the total amount that gets paid to the engineering firm?
Well, I think as an estimate, when you do a bond, this is not an exact number here. This is a number that is an umbrella number to cover some of the costs associated with this project. So in an estimate in terms of coming up with what the soft cost might be, that's probably where that number came from, some percentage of what the cost might be.
And what was that percentage for the engineering firm?
What the mayor said, it's an estimate for soft costs, and it's an estimate provided by our bond counsel, Joel Fleischman.
And what did Fleischman tell you was the percentage for the engineering firm?
$600,000.
That's not just that's not just the engineering firm.
That's all
Correct. That's
Right.
the total soft
Right.
cost,
Okay.
which includes the 5 or 6 different things that were read.
You're unable to tell me what the percentage is for the Duran engineering firm?
Exactly at this point, he hasn't done the work yet. But
Now, as I read Section 6, what was the term you used for?
wait time. Give us a chance to.
I will give you wait time now to turn to Section 6.
Okay.
Okay? At the end of Section 6, it says, "And the city shall be obligated to levy ad valorem taxes upon all the taxable property within the city for the payment of said obligations and interest thereon without limitation of rate or amount." Now, I didn't know what ad valorem meant, and maybe Mr. Murray does because he's an accountant. So I went to the Wikipedia to find out, what is ad valorem? And ad valorem, I'm going to read you, maybe I'll paraphrase it to save some time, is tax based on the value of real estate. And this has to do with property tax, a millage tax. That's an ad valorem tax. And the tax authority performs an appraisal of the monetary value of the property, and the tax is assessed in proportion to that value. Now my question is, are our taxes going to be raised as a result of this $2 million?
Any project that we do and any cost that the city incurs would be ad valorem because it is spread out among the rateable base of the entire community, and the rateable base is based on individual assessments of rates. This ordinance, and it depends on how it is structured, we're doing, we just did a sale, so we do bond anticipation notes and things of that nature. So, Chris, do you want to explain how it comes on in terms of the taxes?
Sure. This evening we approved spending of $2 million for St. Philip's project. We also approved borrowing of $1.9 million. What we typically do is use our own money to fund some of these projects. Once we reach a point where we can't fund it ourselves anymore, then we go out and borrow a short-term note to fund the balance of the project. After a few notes are done, then we tend to borrow a permanent financing firm in the form of a bond. So are taxes going to be raised because of this? Chances are they may, but we just did a bond ordinance 2 years ago, in which case taxes were not raised to purchase St. Philip's.
Wouldn't those costs all get added in when we do the budget?
Absolutely.
We put the interest in, and we look at all the income and
And the other
expenses
thing
of-
is what debt
of
comes
finance.
is retired, and that's, you know, in terms of looking at debt as it's paid down, when debt comes off, other debt goes on. So to tell you right now what the impact will be immediately would can't tell you exactly right now. We can tell you once we strike the budget for next year, you'll be able to say how much we're going to put in for debt service, and that would be part of it.
When do
And
you
next
think,
year, we will not pay anything for this bond ordinance that we did tonight.
when do you think we will know the total amount for the St. Philip's Tract project?
When the project is finished, I think you would know what the total amount of bonding would be for that project. Now, we're going to approve, throughout this process, we're going to, we'll have to approve bonds that will give us an amount to spend up to. And hopefully we spend less than that, because you can't begin a project unless you have a spending authorization in place. So when we get further along in the project, then we will have an estimate by the architect that we will be able to use to go out for permanent financing. And of course, then once we have the bid, we'll know exactly what the cost of the project will be, once it's out and publicly bid. But you have to do a spending authorization prior to the bid. So whatever the architect estimates this project will cost, we have to make sure that we have the authorization to spend up to that amount. And hopefully the bids will come in lower.
Number one, has any member of council read this report? 2, before voting last month to release the settlement agreement signed on March 30th, 2010 by the former police chief, the city manager, and the employee, in which the chief agrees to never seek reemployment with the city, and which was signed 20 days after he had signed a new contract with the city, which was March the 10th of 2010. Did council read and discuss this agreement? It is based on the investigative report that was prepared by an attorney hired by the city manager, and which is the report which is the subject of this lawsuit. And there were 2 documents that were requested by Mr. Paff. One was agreed, one was released, and that's the one I'm discussing right now, which is the agreement settlement on the police chief's retirement. And the second one is the investigative report, which was done by an attorney from Archer and Griner, hired by the city manager. And this report at the moment is the subject of this lawsuit. Number 3, why would a quote-unquote discredited accuser, which would be the employee, be a signatory to the chief's retirement agreement? He could have simply retired. 4, if the complaint was baseless, why would such an agreement be necessary?
Mrs. Phelps, I'm going to save you a lot of time. I'm not commenting on any of your questions.
Well, see, that's what's... You are accountable for your actions, and these concern what you knew, when you knew it, and what you did. And that's something that the public and the taxpayers should be knowledgeable about. I mean, I can print these in the paper, which I think is something that should be done, because you should, people should be aware of what happened and what led to this settlement agreement, and the fact that this is now the subject of a lawsuit. There are a few more, and if you can't, you want to take the time to have the rest of them read?
I'm not going to comment on this matter, as I've been directed.
Yeah, but see, you can't hide behind that. That's not a legitimate excuse, Mayor Gunther. This is all out in the open. This is public. The only thing that is not is the investigative report. Thank you.